Care story of King Saul and his downfall. In the days when Israel cried out for a king to lead them, God granted their request, though it grieved him, for he desired to be their true king. Samuel, the prophet, anointed Saul, a tall and handsome man from the tribe of Benjamin, to be the first king of Israel. Saul began his reign with humility and great promise, but over time, his disobedience and pride would lead to his tragic downfall. Saul's reign started strong. He led Israel in victorious battles against their enemies, including the Ammonites and the Philistines. The Spirit of God came upon him mightily, and he rallied the people to unity and strength. The nation looked to him as their leader, and Saul seemed destined for greatness. But as his power grew, so did his impatience and disregard for God's commands. One of the pivotal moments in Saul's life came during a battle with the Philistines. The Israelites were gathered at Gilgal, and the Philistine army loomed large, with chariots, horsemen, and soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore. Saul's troops, trembling with fear, began to scatter. Samuel had instructed Saul to wait 7 days until he arrived to offer sacrifices to the Lord and seek his guidance. But as the 7th day wore on, and Samuel had not yet come, Saul's fear got the better of him. Saul took matters into his own hands and offered the burnt offering himself, something only the prophet-priest was permitted to do. Just as he finished, Samuel arrived and was grieved by what he saw. "What have you done?" Samuel asked. Saul defended himself, saying, "When I saw the men scattering, and you had not come, I thought, the Philistines will attack us, and I have not sought the Lord's favor, so I felt compelled to offer the sacrifice." Samuel rebuked him, saying, "You have acted foolishly. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought a man after his own heart, and appointed him to be ruler of his people." Despite this warning, Saul continued to drift further from God. Another critical moment came when Saul was commanded by God, through Samuel, to utterly destroy the Amalekites as judgment for their sins. He was instructed to leave nothing alive, man, woman, child, livestock, or spoils of war. But Saul, again swayed by his own judgment and the desires of his men, spared King Agag and the best of the livestock, claiming he intended to sacrifice them to the Lord. When Samuel confronted Saul, he found him building a monument to himself, a sign of Saul's growing pride. Saul insisted he had obeyed the Lord, but Samuel replied with the piercing words, "Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." Saul's heart was broken by Samuel's pronouncement, but his repentance was shallow. The Spirit of the Lord departed from him, and a tormenting spirit filled the void. Meanwhile, God instructed Samuel to anoint David, a young shepherd boy from Bethlehem, as the future king. David would become a thorn in Saul's side, for Saul grew jealous of David's successes and the favor he found with the people and God. Consumed by jealousy and paranoia, Saul spent much of his remaining years hunting David, trying to secure his throne. His actions became increasingly erratic and desperate, alienating his allies and straying further from God. In the end, Saul's life came to a tragic conclusion on the battlefield against the Philistines. Wounded and fearing capture, Saul fell on his own sword, ending his reign and life in despair. Thus, the first king of Israel serves as a cautionary tale of how disobedience and pride can lead even the mightiest to ruin. God does not seek outward appearances or the sacrifices of the disobedient. He desires hearts that are fully devoted to him. Saul's story reminds us of the importance of trusting and obeying God, even when circumstances seem dire.